January 2015, San Francisco Federal Courthouse. A 46-year-old man in a gray suit sits at the defense table. No badge, no gun, no swagger. Carl Mark Forrest IV spent 2 decades as a Drug Enforcement Administration special agent running undercover operations against some of the most dangerous criminal organizations on the planet. Today, he is the defendant. The same government that paid him to hunt drug kingpins is now prosecuting him for extortion, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. His crime was not missing a target or botching a bust. His crime was becoming the criminal. While leading the federal investigation into the largest illegal marketplace in internet history, Force created fake identities to extort the very target he was paid to destroy. He provided sensitive law enforcement information about the investigation to Silk Road operatives. He staged a fake murder for profit. He pocketed hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin while sitting at his Drug Enforcement Administration desk collecting a federal salary. The hunter became the hustler. The badge became a weapon pointed inward. Here's how it went down. Baltimore, Maryland. In the early 1990s, Carl Mark Forrest IV joined the Drug Enforcement Administration, the letters DEA, fresh out of college with a criminal justice degree and a hunger to prove himself. He was not some desk jockey analyst. He wanted the street. He wanted the action. He wanted to put handcuffs on cartel lieutenants and watch their empires crumble. The Drug Enforcement Administration obliged. Forrest cut his teeth on undercover operations, the kind where you wear wire, meet dangerous people in parking lots, and pray your cover story holds. He was good at it, better than good. The man had a gift for becoming someone else, slipping into a persona so completely that targets trusted him with their lives. By the mid-2000s, Forrest was a seasoned veteran with multiple successful operations under his belt and commendations in his file. Supervisors trusted him to run complex investigations with minimal oversight. That trust became the loophole he would eventually exploit. 2011. The internet has a problem. Actually, the internet has created something unprecedented. A website called Silk Road has emerged from the digital underground, operating on the Tor network where anonymity is absolute and transactions happen in a cryptocurrency most Americans have never heard of: Bitcoin. Think about what this means. A fully functional marketplace where anyone can buy heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, forged documents, hacking services, anything illegal you can imagine, all from the comfort of a laptop. No street corner transactions, no face-to-face meetings, no physical evidence changing hands, just encrypted messages, digital currency, and packages arriving through the mail. The man running this operation calls himself Dread Pirate Roberts, DPR for short. Nobody knows his real name. Nobody knows his location. He communicates only through the platform, preaching a libertarian philosophy about personal freedom and the right to put whatever you want into your own body. The feds see something else. They see billions of dollars in illegal transactions. They see drug overdoses connected to Silk Road products. They see a threat to the entire system of law enforcement that has governed drug markets for decades. Multiple federal agencies want a piece of this investigation. The FBI is running their own operation out of New York. The IRS Criminal Investigation Division has agents following the money. And in Baltimore, a joint task force assembles with DEA leading the charge. Carl Mark Forrest IV gets tapped for the most critical role. He will be the primary undercover agent. His job is to build a persona that can penetrate Silk Road's inner circle, gain the trust of Dread Pirate Roberts, and gather the evidence needed for prosecution. Force creates his character. No B. A high-level drug smuggler from the Dominican Republic with connections to major trafficking organizations. The persona is carefully constructed and approved by supervisors. Every message Force sends as Knob gets logged, every interaction documented. This is standard procedure for federal undercover work. What happens next is not. Knob makes contact with Dread Pirate Roberts through the Silk Road messaging system. The conversation starts slow. Force is patient. He presents himself as a potential business partner, someone who can move serious weight through established smuggling routes. DPR is cautious but intrigued. Over weeks, then months, the relationship develops. Force feeds him information designed to build trust. Small details about shipping methods, warnings about law enforcement tactics, the kind of inside knowledge that a real smuggler would possess. DPR begins to rely on Knob as a source of intelligence and a potential avenue for expanding operations. Force is doing his job. The investigation is working. But somewhere in those long nights of encrypted conversations, something shifts. Force sees the money flowing through Silk Road. Millions of dollars in Bitcoin moving daily. Dread Pirate Roberts is not just running a website. He is sitting on a digital fortune that grows every hour. And Force has access, direct, unsupervised access to a target who trusts him completely. The temptation is not sudden. It builds slowly like pressure in a pipe, one rationalization at a time, one compromise at a time, until the pipe bursts. 2012. Force makes his first unauthorized move. He creates a new identity, not Knob, which is logged and monitored, something else entirely. He calls this persona French Maid. The name sounds ridiculous until you understand what it represents. French Maid is a ghost, an identity that exists nowhere in DEA records. No supervisor knows about it. No documentation tracks his communications. French Maid is Carl Force's private channel to the target, invisible to everyone except Force himself. Through French Maid, Force contacts Dread Pirate Roberts, or DPR, with an offer that should have triggered every alarm in DPR's paranoid brain. French Maid claims to have inside information about the federal investigation into Silk Road. Real information, names of agents, details of surveillance methods, the kind of intelligence that could help DPR stay one step ahead of law enforcement. The price is $100,000 in Bitcoin. Think about what Force is doing. He is selling his own team's secrets to the target his own team is hunting. Every piece of information he gives DPR potentially compromises the entire investigation. Agents in the field could be exposed, operations could be blown, lives could be at risk, and Force does not hesitate. He makes the sale. The Bitcoin transfers into accounts he controls, $100,000 for betraying everything he swore to protect. But Force is not satisfied. The first taste of dirty money only makes him hungrier. He realizes the unique position he occupies. As the primary undercover agent, he has unmonitored access to DPR through multiple channels. He can create as many fake identities as he wants. Each one becomes a new revenue stream. The Curtis Green situation shows exactly how far Force is willing to go. Green is a Silk Road administrator who handles customer service issues on the platform. In January 2013, federal agents in Maryland arrest Green during a controlled delivery of cocaine. Standard procedure would be to flip Green as a cooperating witness, use him to gather more evidence against Dread Pirate Roberts, and build toward the eventual takedown. Force sees something different. He sees opportunity. Dread Pirate Roberts learns about Green's arrest and panics. Green knows too much about Silk Road operations. He could be cooperating with the feds right now, handing over everything he knows. Dread Pirate Roberts reaches out to Knob with a request that crosses every line. He wants Green dead, eliminated, silenced permanently before he can testify. A normal undercover agent would document this solicitation for murder and use it as devastating evidence at trial. Force documents it and then monetizes it. He contacts Dread Pirate Roberts through the Knob persona and agrees to handle the problem. $80,000. Dread Pirate Roberts agrees. The Bitcoin transfers. Now Force needs to deliver proof of death. He brings Curtis Green to a hotel room. The man who was supposed to be a cooperating witness in a federal investigation is about to become a prop in an extortion scheme. Force and Green stage the murder. They photograph Green appearing to be tortured. Then they photograph him appearing to be dead. The images are convincing. Green cooperates fully, presumably because Force has made clear the alternative is actual prosecution without any cooperation credit. Force sends the photos to Dread Pirate Roberts. Here is your problem solved. The body has been disposed of. Dread Pirate Roberts is relieved, grateful even. He has just paid $80,000 to a federal agent for a fake murder, and he believes he has eliminated a threat to his operation. Force deposits the Bitcoin into personal accounts. $80,000 for pointing a camera at a man in a bathtub and clicking send. That is not a law enforcement operation, that is a side hustle with a badge. The beauty of Force's scheme from his perspective is how the technology protects him. Bitcoin transactions are pseudonymous. The blockchain records every transfer, but the identities behind wallet addresses are not immediately apparent. Tor network communications are encrypted. Messages disappear into digital noise. Force believes he has found the perfect crime. Rob criminals who cannot report the theft. Conduct the robbery through channels that cannot be traced. Collect payment in a currency that cannot be tracked. He is wrong about all of it. But in 2013, he does not know that yet. Force creates another identity, Death from Above. This persona contacts Dread Pirate Roberts with a different kind of threat. Death from Above claims to possess personal information about Dread Pirate Roberts, real identity details, location information, the kind of data that could destroy his anonymity and lead directly to arrest. The demand is simple: pay up or get exposed. Force is now running multiple extortion schemes against the same target simultaneously. As Knob, he is the trusted insider providing valuable intelligence. As French Maid, he is the corrupt informant selling government secrets. As Death from Above, he is the anonymous blackmailer threatening exposure. 3 personas, 3 revenue streams, all controlled by one DEA agent sitting at his desk in Baltimore, collecting a government salary while robbing a drug lord through the internet. The money accumulates. Force is not subtle about spending it. He invests in a digital currency startup called CoinMKT, not as a passive investor. He pressures the company using his position as a federal agent. The company's accounts get frozen during a money laundering investigation. Force offers to help resolve the situation in exchange for equity. The company does not have much choice. This is not investment. This is extortion with a government seal. Meanwhile, the legitimate investigation continues. Force attends task force meetings, files reports, and participates in strategic discussions about how to identify and apprehend Dread Pirate Roberts. He sits in rooms with prosecutors and fellow agents, all of them working toward the same goal, while he simultaneously runs side operations that could compromise everything they are building. The FBI team in New York is making progress through different channels. IRS investigators are following the Bitcoin trail. The net is closing around Dread Pirate Roberts, who will eventually be identified as Ross Ulbricht, a 29-year-old from Austin, Texas, with a physics degree and libertarian dreams. Ulbricht has no idea that one of the federal agents hunting him is also robbing him. He trusts Knob. He paid French Maid for protection. He paid Death from Above to stay anonymous. None of it helped. The money just disappeared into Carl Force's accounts. In October 2013, FBI agents locate Ross Ulbricht in a San Francisco public library. They wait until his laptop is open and unlocked, then move in before he can encrypt the drive. The arrest is clean. The evidence is overwhelming. Ulbricht is Dread Pirate Roberts. The most wanted cybercriminal in America is now in federal custody. The Silk Road is shut down. The prosecution moves forward. And buried in the thousands of pages of evidence, in the transaction records and communication logs, there are anomalies. Bitcoin transfers that do not match the known activities of the investigation. Messages from personas that do not appear in any official documentation. The blockchain does not lie. Every transaction is recorded permanently, and someone is starting to notice that the numbers do not add up. The investigation into Karl Marx, Force the Fourth, begins quietly. A separate team of federal agents working out of San Francisco starts pulling threads. They trace Bitcoin transactions backward through the blockchain. They identify wallet addresses. They follow the money as it moves from Silk Road accounts into exchanges, then into bank accounts. The accounts have names on them. Real names. Karl Mark Force IV used his personal email address to sign up for cryptocurrency exchanges. He transferred Bitcoin directly into his own bank accounts. The man who spent years doing undercover work, who understood operational security, who knew how investigations work from the inside, made mistakes that a first-year agent would recognize as catastrophic. The San Francisco team compiles their evidence. Force has no idea he is being investigated. He is still showing up to work, still filing reports, still collecting his salary. But the net is closing now, and it is closing around him. In February 2015, the indictment drops. Karl Mark Force IV is charged with extortion, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. The complaint details his schemes with clinical precision. The Nabi persona, French maid, death from above, the fake murder of Curtis Green, the shakedown of CoinMKT, the hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin that flowed into his personal accounts. Force is not the only federal agent caught in the net. Sean Bridges, a Secret Service agent who worked on the same Silk Road task force, was running his own operation. Bridges was quieter than Force, less creative, but far more profitable. He exploited administrative access to Silk Road systems to steal over $800,000 in Bitcoin directly from user accounts. While Force was creating personas and staging fake murders, Bridges was simply logging in and taking the money. Two federal agents, two separate corruption schemes, both uncovered through the same investigation, both prosecuted by the same office that brought down the biggest dark web marketplace in history. The irony cuts deep. Force spent his career putting criminals in prison. Now he is facing decades behind bars. The skills he developed to catch drug traffickers, the instincts that made him effective undercover, all of it useless against the permanent record of the blockchain. The Ross Ulbricht defense team seizes on the corruption revelations. They argue that Force and Bridges tainted the entire investigation. If federal agents were extorting and robbing the target, how can any evidence gathered by the task force be trusted? The argument has merit. In any other case, this level of corruption might have resulted in dismissed charges or overturned convictions. But the evidence against Ulbricht is overwhelming and comes primarily from the FBI team in New York, not the corrupted Baltimore task force. The prosecution survives. Ulbricht is convicted on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Force and Bridges helped put him there, then they went down themselves. In October 2015, sentencing day for Karl Mark Force IV. He stands before a federal judge in San Francisco, the same city where the investigation began. His lawyer argues for leniency. Force cooperated after his arrest. He pleaded guilty. He expressed remorse. The prosecution tells a different story. They describe a federal agent who betrayed his oath, compromised an investigation, endangered colleagues, and stole from criminals while pretending to hunt them. They describe a man who used his badge as a weapon for personal profit. The judge delivers the sentence: 78 months, 6.5 years in federal prison. Restitution orders require Force to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars. His pension is gone, his career is destroyed, his reputation is ashes. Sean Bridges was also prosecuted and sentenced to federal prison for stealing Bitcoin from the investigation. Reporting later showed he faced additional misconduct allegations and further penalties related to his thefts. The man could not stop stealing even when he knew federal agents were watching every move. Some habits die hard. Some criminals cannot help themselves. The Silk Road case becomes a textbook example in federal training programs, not just for how to investigate cybercrime, but for how corruption can compromise even the most significant operations. Force's name appears in presentations about operational security failures. His mistakes are cataloged, analyzed, taught to new agents as warnings. Do not use personal email for criminal activity. Do not transfer stolen cryptocurrency directly to personal bank accounts. Do not assume the blockchain forgets. It never forgets. But the deeper lesson is harder to teach. Force was not some marginal player who stumbled into corruption. He was a decorated veteran with 2 decades of service. He ran complex undercover operations successfully. He was trusted by supervisors, respected by colleagues, relied upon for the most sensitive work. The system failed to detect his corruption for years. The technology that eventually caught him was the same technology he used to commit the crimes. Bitcoin's permanent ledger documented every transaction, every theft, every extortion payment. Force thought the anonymity would protect him. The permanence destroyed him. There is something almost tragic about Force's trajectory. A man who dedicated his professional life to fighting drug trafficking, who understood the destruction that narcotics bring to communities, who saw firsthand the violence and addiction in broken families. That man looked at the Silk Road operation, looked at the millions of dollars flowing through digital channels, and decided to take his cut, not by working harder, not by climbing the career ladder, by becoming the thing he swore to destroy. The question nobody can answer with certainty is when it started. When did Karl Marx Force IV cross the line from dedicated agent to corrupt criminal? Was it a single moment of temptation, a gradual erosion of principles? Did he always have the capacity for this, waiting for the right opportunity? The blockchain records the transactions. The court documents detail the schemes, but the internal calculus, the private justifications, the moment he convinced himself this was acceptable, those remain hidden. What we know is the outcome. A decorated federal agent sentenced to prison for crimes committed against the target of his own investigation. A corruption scandal that nearly derailed the prosecution of the most significant cybercriminal case in history. A warning to every law enforcement officer who thinks they can outsmart the systems they were hired to protect. Force served his sentence. He was released after approximately 5 years with good behavior credit. The man who once commanded undercover operations against international drug trafficking organizations walked out of a federal facility with nothing, no badge, no pension, no reputation. His name appears in academic papers about cryptocurrency crime, in true crime documentaries, in training materials for federal agents. He became more famous for his crimes than for any of his legitimate accomplishments. The Silk Road case changed how federal agencies approach dark web investigations. New protocols require stricter oversight of undercover communications. Cryptocurrency transactions are monitored more closely. The assumption that trusted agents can be trusted with unsupervised access to criminal targets has been shattered. Force proved that corruption can flourish anywhere, even at the highest levels of federal law enforcement, especially when the money is measured in Bitcoin and the transactions happen in shadows. Ross Ulbricht remains in federal prison serving a life sentence. The man Force extorted and betrayed will likely die behind bars. Force served 6.5 years and returned to whatever life remains for a disgraced federal agent. Some people call that injustice. Others call it the system working exactly as designed. The kingpin gets life. The corrupt cop gets out. The blockchain remembers everything. Karl Marx Force IV wanted to be a gangster without leaving his government desk. He wanted the profits of the drug trade without the risks of the street. He thought his badge protected him. His technical knowledge concealed him, and his position made him untouchable. He was wrong about all of it. The same investigation that brought down Dread Pirate Roberts brought down the agent hunting him. The same blockchain that recorded Silk Road transactions recorded the extortion payments flowing into Force's wallets. The same federal system that prosecuted Ross Ulbricht prosecuted Karl Marx Force IV. Nobody beats the ledger. Nobody outruns the blockchain. Nobody escapes the permanent record. 78 months in federal custody. Hundreds of thousands in restitution. One career in ashes. One badge surrendered. One name remembered not for the criminals caught, but for the crimes committed. That is how the digital game ends.